Well,
Hey Dan.
Hey mate, how are you?
Well, thank you. What do we got this week?
Well mate, this week Ausgrid announced that they are going to start charging people for their excess solar energy starting July 1.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're right. And this sent ripples through social media during the week. We had phone calls to the office saying, am I going to be taxed or penalised for exporting energy to the grid? And Dan, firstly, I just wanted to explain to you and to everyone watching the video that Ausgrid actually doesn't bill people, right? Ausgrid owns the poles and wires in mainly sort of Sydney area. West of that is Endeavour Energy, and then west of that again is Essential Energy, the old country energy. So, Ausgrid, whilst owning the poles and wires, have said that their area is going to be the first to actually have this two-way tariff structure, which South Australia already does quite well. And what it actually means, Dan, is that it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be taxed or charged for putting energy back into the grid, but that charge, I believe they said a 2-cent premium between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. Is that right?
Yeah, it's roughly what they're saying right now, yeah.
Yeah, so what that means is that will become part of wholesale energy, right? So it's going to cost an extra 2 cents for them to take that energy into the grid between those times. And then from, was it 5 p.m. till 8 p.m., they were going to give you a 3-cent bonus, if you will, for exporting energy during those times. And all this kind of does is aligns us with virtual power plants and VPPs that we're kind of already looking into and we're already playing with. Now, Ausgrid have said that this is going to come in, and it's not mandatory, but eventually it will be on the 1st of July this year. So people can actually opt into this style of plan. And I think, to be honest, these tariffs will actually support great VPPs like Amber, Nectar have one as well. But I don't think it's a bad thing, Dan, to be honest. I think it's going to drive the uptake of batteries, which we're already seeing right now. Like our battery attachment rate currently is 60%, which is through the roof. Yep. So I really think this is going to be the driver of batteries, and it's nothing for homeowners to fear. We have a net zero target. They can't possibly go and whack a tax on it and say, naughty boy for installing solar.
That's it. And I think what I've read through some of the comments on various forums and social media and stuff is people not quite understanding the magnitude of this tariff.
Yep.
When you look at, because it's based on the export, every system relative to its production is how much this could impact you in terms of the fine, so to speak, of this tariff or of this regulation. But if you're talking about like our average system, if it was exporting during a peak summertime during the day of 20 kilowatts on kilowatt hours during the day, like on average throughout the year, you're talking at maybe like $80 to $100, maybe like it's not actually over the course of an entire year. You're not talking about a crazy amount of money here.
That's very worst case, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, what, 20 times 2 times 2 cents that is. You're talking 40 cents per day on great days where you're exporting a lot. I mean, in winter, it won't really be too bad at all. The export's quite low. And for those people with a battery, like imagine having the power, like what a virtual power plant will do, to actually discharge your battery in those times where they're going to offer you the creme de la creme feed-in tariff. That's how you play the game.
Some of these VPPs are offering dollars, not cents, for your export.
Well,
is it time of use?
Time of use and demand. They're playing that wholesale market. I mean, I don't think anyone does it better than Amber. Did you see the other day, Amber Smart Shift plans, homeowners in New South Wales were getting, it wasn't cents feed-in tariff.
It was $18.
It was like $18 at one stage. I seen screenshots of people making $200 a day sort of thing, or a couple $100 a week. And I'm like, I'm getting a little like I should really get my batteries on that energy plan, to be honest. And that was a big grid event. That doesn't happen all the time, of course, but it does happen, and it proves that it happens. So yeah, I think this tariff is just all part of the new age that we're heading into, the way that we need to think about using energy. It supports that.
It's so interesting because it speaks to the whole supply and demand of any market. Energy is just a market, just like the stock market, just like the housing market of ownership to renters. So like energy, the market for energy, when you have a retailer who's responsible, or it's probably more the DNSP who's responsible for keeping the lights on in a given area. Would that be right?
Absolutely.
Not the retailer.
The DNSP, the retailer is not responsible at all.
That's right.
They're not, and they're barely held accountable.
Correct.
Well, I mean, they are somewhat, but the DNSP is responsible for you turning on your light and it happening. They're like the heroes that don't wear the capes behind the scenes. You know, that's the DNSP. So, and that then comes, say Endeavour Energy, which gets fed from Transgrid, which gets fed from multiple generators, around New South Wales. And these power plants that we're putting on people's roofs, they become one of the generators. And because you become a generator, and especially when you have batteries, because you now have controllable, predictable energy that you can soak, you can push or pull from the grid, then you are able to really capitalize on high feed-in tariffs in times of trauma and trouble, right? So, for example, the grid event that happened the other night was a high voltage feeder that went down, which causes more demand on the grid in certain areas. There's more, it's quite simple, like you said, supply and demand. There's more demand, therefore they will pay more for your energy that's in your battery. Give me all of it that I can get. And when they're not getting what they want, the demand goes higher and higher and higher. So it continues until the demand can be met, and then of course it will cool off. Yeah, that's right. But moving forward, I can't see a world where the demand is actually going to reduce. These grid events and these events where you're going to be receiving quite a premium feed-in tariff, they're happening more and more. Like Christmas Day, all through summer, the peak of winter when people want to heat their homes. It's a really great way to supercharge the payback period of a solar and battery system.
Yes. The catch is though, they're rarely, I could be wrong, but they're rarely going to be during that 10 to 3 time. Those high, where you get paid is in the evening time. Absolutely. So really, it's the battery that's going to give you that payback, give you that lucrative opportunity.
Can do supercharging.
Yes.
You're right. The events are very rarely between 10 to 3, unless it's maybe on a weekend, right? With extreme weather on the weekend.
Yeah.
And I mean, the opposite is kind of true, where it's like they'll give you high money for energy in the evening. They'll pay you sometimes to take that energy in the middle of the day.
For nothing, like
for nothing,
very
right?
little.
Or very little. Or sometimes I've seen it has gone negative where they will pay you to take energy. The catch to that is usually people with batteries have solar systems anyway, and by the time they want to pay you to take the energy, you've already taken your own energy, because that's just how solar's set up. So yeah, there's certainly a world, Dan, where like dropping a container of batteries and connecting it into the grid and letting it sit there and trade energy makes total sense. Yeah.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
It is.
So for the mums and dads, let's unpack some potential solutions to help us understand better how this could work. So obviously, like I've had personal experience with hot water diverters in the past. They're like sort of a way to turn your hot water system into a battery.
Yes.
So you could use that to reallocate your export into your hot water system. That could be an option.
Yep.
You've also got obviously battery systems which make the most sense. You've got EVs now where you've got charge from solar, which is doing the same thing. You plug your car in and it's not going to go to the grid. It's going to automatically push to your car.
Yes.
So all these softwares and hardware devices are already available to kind of solve this problem that the DNSPs are now saying. Like look, at the end of the day, they're not trying to punish solar owners. They're not. No. They have a problem, and it's managing the grid in times of need, where we need your energy. If you have a battery, if you've invested in a battery, there will be times where you will be rewarded for that.
Absolutely.
And if you don't, then hey, like you're kind of contributing to our problem.
You're contributing to the problem.
Yes.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
And it is incentivizing batteries without putting an official battery rebate or subsidy in, which New South Wales has never really seen, right? So it's incentivizing it because people want in on this. I want in on this, like you want it. You already do it right now. We all want in on this. Everyone wants in on a fad, Dan. Everyone wants in on like a, something that makes lucrative amounts of money, right? Crypto. People go crazy for crypto. It's not even real, right? It's just numbers on an app and the ATO can tax you on it if you actually make money. It's pretty crazy, right? energy's real, it's tangible, it's a tangible product. And, you know, for people like us that are in this game, we understand what it can do and just how much money can be made. If you're looking at it from a financial point of view, will it be like this forever? No, it won't be like this forever. There'll be big community batteries that will soak up excess energy during the day. This is a window of time, a period of time right now, where for the next probably 5 to 10 years, there is great money to be made around battery storage. And remember the 60-cent feed-in days where people were like, oh, I got solar in the glory days and they got 60 cents a kilowatt hour. Imagine bolting up a 20 kilowatt, 30 kilowatt system to a 60-cent feed-in tariff. You'd near pay your house off, right? This is going to be exactly the same. What we are entering right now with virtual power plants 2A tariffs is the 60-cent feed-in equivalent
for batteries.
For batteries, exactly right. So I think, you know, there's never been a better time. Powerwalls and end-phase batteries, like the technology is so great. The warranty periods are good. The payback periods are finally making sense. It's the time to bolt on a battery, really take advantage of that short payback period that we're seeing clients achieve at the moment. And I mean, the other pros, Dan, like we haven't even spoke about like grid independence at all. You know, when the grid does go down because they couldn't meet the demand, you've got backup, providing you haven't given them all your energy, of course.
Right.
You know, you can seemingly infinitely live off the grid, especially with an end-phase, you know, battery system with end-phase IQ8 microinverters. You can quite literally live off the grid. It's pretty cool. But there are some other ways, Dan, that, you know, for homeowners who do have solar and maybe aren't ready to buy batteries, that they can avoid this, you know, solar feed-in penalty, if you'll call it that, right? Keep in mind, they are still going to pay you money for your feed-in. It's just not going to be quite as much as what it was. So if you did get 10 cents, maybe now you're only going to get 8.
Yep.
Right. So in my opinion, it's kind of all been blown out of proportion thanks to the media, of course. But there are other ways, like you can export limit your system to 0. If you don't want to give your excess energy back to the grid, you can. Every end-phase system can do it, and some other systems will need a little bit of work, but you can put a hard export limit on that system to say, you know what, I want to supply my own home. I do not want to sell anything to the grid. That is actually possible. You spoke about hot water diverters, which work really well. Battery storage, we've already spoken about. Export limitations. The electric vehicle era where energy can actually be just put straight into your electric vehicle. And the batteries in electric vehicles, I mean, what's a Model 3 and Model Y at the moment? Is it like 75 kilowatt hours?
Equivalent to 6 or 7 Powerwalls, you know?
Yeah. And a Model S, I mean, some of the Model X's are like 100 kilowatt hour. The F-150 Lightning's 131 kilowatt hour. Your system's not even going to fill all that up every day. No. So you can have a battery sitting there that can catch and soak up this extra. You just putting kilometers of range in your car for free. You know, if you're really that worried about it, you know, systems are very smart and you can manipulate and control your energy exactly how you want to these days. So you had to catch power at your house. How'd you find it? Do you still have it on now that you got batteries?
Oh, no.
No, so you took it off, batteries overtook that.
That's right. And plus I updated my electric hot water to a heat pump.
Oh, of course.
Which is so awesome.
Yep.
It doesn't run on a timer because it uses less than 2 kilowatt hours of energy to run a full tank of hot water for a 4-person family. And like even if it does run, like I actually hear it come on after sort of the shower run happens in the household. I hear it kick on and it'll go for about 2 hours and then it turns off. So it's running between like 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. to just reheat. But I don't want to put that on a timer for 10 to 2 in case anyone needs a shower in the morning.
Of course. No need.
Because it hasn't run. It's only using 2 kilowatt hours.
Yeah,
so
I mean, your house has 27 kilowatt hours of storage. So using 2 out of that is nothing, right?
It's not, absolutely. So it's an all electric home, man. It's pretty cool, man. And it's running beautifully with 2 Powerwalls. And if I had 1 Powerwall, I would be inadequately geared. My system is 15 kilowatts and it's sized really well for an electric vehicle and 2 batteries. On a cracking day like today, I noticed my batteries were charged by around midday. So, you know, I just feel even in winter, it's just sized really well for that power delivery when I need it to charge my car and run the house, as well as charge 2 batteries.
I will remind you that I personally designed it. So, I mean, I hope you have great things to say about the design.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'm noticing mine come on really strong. I'm producing, 90 kilowatt hours per day at the moment. I've got an east, north and west split. But look, that's not what we're here to talk about. No. So then I think, the bottom line is the media, as usual, have spun this up into a big web of doom and gloom. I don't think for homeowners it's anything to be worried about at all. Actually, I really, really encourage it. I think it's going to drive homeowners to use their energy in a more savvy way. The intelligence, the right word. Yeah, I mean, tools like consumption monitoring are 100% necessary to navigate your way around these tariffs.
Yes.
You really got to know what your home's using and when it's using it. So, and then as far as I'm concerned, bring on battery storage. The more batteries we have out there, the more stable the grid's going to be. And solar. In the 20-cent feed-in tariff days, I remember getting people's payback period down to 3 years, right? It just doesn't happen anymore. The cost of goods is maintained reasonably similar to what it was years ago. Labour has increased a little bit. Government rebates have certainly reduced, as they do every year. So what we're seeing now is solar only is kind of between 4 to 5 years. And we're seeing solar and battery combined. Sometimes almost high sixes, but about 7, between 6 to 7 years, around that 6 to 7 years, which is just so fast. When you consider you bolt on a battery, it adds an extra 2 years to your payback period. But the experience from a user point of view of solar and battery versus just solar, the freedom to use your energy when you want, the freedom to play these markets like virtual power plants and the supply and demand game. And by the way, it's all automatic. You don't have to do it. You set and forget, and it just does it in the background. It's so incredible. I think user experience and giving you the flexibility to truly control your energy destiny. I know that sounds kind of cliche, but it is, the power's in your hands.
Totally.
I think consumers really, really, really like that. And I know I love that about my system as well, versus when I've just had solar only. Batteries are just another level. They're such an incredible tool. So yeah, I think it's not all doom and gloom. I think it's actually a really good thing. Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, great. Thank you. And I hope you've enjoyed us talking about the new two-way tariff introduced in New South Wales by Ausgrid and surely soon to be rolled out through the rest of New South Wales. Until the next one, we'll see you soon.